Just driving around again, having some fucking some more rants. So figured I'd make another video like I did yesterday. I was thinking about the Department of Government Efficiency. I was kind of thinking, like, why does it get me so pissed off for people to not see how reckless what's going on with that is? And I think I have kind of an idea of why that gets me so fucking pissed off. Alright, so no natural-born American citizen under 80 years old who hasn't gone and lived abroad somewhere, right? Some people, they go, they leave the country, and they come back. But anyone under 80 who's lived their entire life in the United States has only ever lived in the strongest and wealthiest nation in the world. That is the only conditions under which anyone under 80 who has always lived in the United States has lived in, is the strongest and wealthiest nation in the world. And I think that has led to some kind of collective fucking cognitive disorders in the way that we think about the world, right? Because let's break that down. We are the strongest and wealthiest nation in the world. We have been for 80 years. Until a few weeks ago, that seemed pretty certain to continue for the foreseeable future. So that part, now until a few weeks ago it changed, that's my opinion, right? But the other part, that we are and have been the strongest and wealthiest nation in the world for the last 80 years, that's just a fact. Okay? There's not any fucking disputing that. That is just a fact. And so, let's think about that. If you are the wealthiest and strongest nation in the world, what does that say about the way your system has been run to create and maintain that condition? It doesn't mean that your system is running perfectly. It doesn't mean that your system is running great. But what it bare minimum means, right, is that things are running mostly okay in the governing systems controlling that society. Because if things weren't running mostly okay in the governing systems controlling a society, that society would not become, and certainly would not remain, the strongest and wealthiest society on earth. So, back to the kind of collective cognitive disorder of Americans, we have forgotten that things can actually get bad. We're so used to this condition of living in the strongest and wealthiest society that has ever existed, that when we have problems, and we do have problems, we have legitimate problems. There are things wrong with this system, with this world. But when we have those problems, we assume that things are as bad as they can be. We have forgotten that when things go from good to okay, or great to good, or okay to mediocre, we have forgotten that there's actually such a thing as bad. So when you have a bunch of people, like with DOGE, running around, you've got an ideologue in the form of Elon Musk, a man who's pissed that his wife or fucking girlfriend, maybe, I don't know if him and Grimes were even actually married, but he is spiritually divorced. His wife left him, and that pissed him off. And then one of his kids turned out to be trans, and that pissed him off because he's a fucking weird little crybaby. And that radicalized him into being an ideologue. And so he's running around with a bunch of 19, 20-year-olds. And look, I've known plenty of really goddamn smart 19 and 20-year-olds, right? When I was 19, 20, thought I was a real goddamn smart 19 and 20-year-old. Now at 30, pushing 31, I'm not so sure that was the case. But I thought at the time, at least, I was a pretty goddamn smart 19 or 20-year-old, and I definitely have met some. But you don't have... At 19 or 20, your brain has developed enough that the knowledge of these systems might fit in your brain, right? Especially if you're mature for your age. But you haven't been around long enough to have gotten the experience and expertise to know how these complex systems operate. So you've got an ideologically driven man who thinks that who is a man of somewhat above average intelligence, who believes that he's the smartest man on earth, which is a terrible fucking combination, who is an ideologue running around in charge of people who might be perfectly smart individuals. They might be, they're ideologically driven in a way that I don't agree with, but it's totally possible that all these fucking 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids running around with DOGE are real smart people, but they have not been alive long enough to have the experience to understand the systems with which they are tampering. So they're running amok is what they're doing. They're making big changes based on half understanding of things, and then saying, whoops, if it turns out one of those changes is a fuck up. And if everything is already running like shit, that's fine. If you're in a country that's a failed state, right, and everything is already running like absolute dog shit, run amok. Who cares? Throw shit at the wall, see what sticks. If it works and improves things, great. If it doesn't, everything was already running like shit. It doesn't matter. And that's the boat that people that support DOGE think we're already in. But it isn't. And it's this fucking collective American cognitive disorder that makes them think that it is. And that's why it pisses me off. It's delusional. We live in the strongest and wealthiest society on earth. Everything is running, bare minimum, pretty okay for that condition to be the case. So if you're running amok, the most likely outcome isn't to go from... If you're running amok in a system where everything's running like shit, maybe the most likely outcome is that things improve. But if you're running amok, fucking with systems you don't understand, in a system where everything is running pretty okay, the most likely outcome is that you make everything start running like shit. We have a lot more room for things to get worse than for them to get better. That doesn't mean we don't have room for them to get better. We have a whole fucking hell of a lot of room for things to get better. I have a lot of goddamn problems with this country, the way it's run. Not problems that make me want to destroy the country. Like I'm starting to suspect some of the people involved with the Trump administration want to, but problems that need to be fucking addressed. But the way you address them is not to run around and fuck everything up because you think things can't get any worse when you're living in the wealthiest and strongest society in the world that is bare minimum one of the best societies in the world to live in. That's less objective, right? It depends on what you want out of life, whether, a lot of people might prefer living in Norway. That's a damn fine choice of where you might want to live if you could choose where you want to be born, or Canada, or I don't know why someone would pick France, but maybe someone would even pick France as where they'd rather be. But no one's going to pick Russia. No one's going to pick China, unless they're fucking idiots. If they're as a preference of where they were born over America. So I think that's why it pisses me off so much. You've got people running around, fucking with systems that are running pretty okay. Not great, but pretty okay, that they don't understand. And the predictable and basically only possible outcome of people fucking with systems that they don't understand, that are working pretty okay, is breaking them. And a lot of people think that that's the fix. And I don't know, that level of delusion just pisses me the fuck off. That's about all I have to say about that.